Thank you, councillors. If we can settle down, thank you.
Speaker, ngicela amanzi la ngasemuva.
Please put your hands up for water if that's the case. The officials will see you. Thank you. You can put them down. When they come past, you'll pass it over to you. I see Councillor Arnold is terug. Hy is terug.
Ja, Speaker, maar baie moeg.
Baie moeg.
Ja, Speaker, ons moet
Net
vroeg
soos-
klaarmaak.
Net soos ons almal, né?
Definitief.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bidkow, Councillor Christians. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Arnolds, wil u terug rapporteer asseblief?
Speaker, ek kan maar aangaan met die items.
Dankie. Thank you very much. Councillors, I've not received any speakers lists in front. Is there anybody speaking on the HR reports? Or are they fine to be taken? Councillor Mhlongo?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Councillor Arnold will speak on the item. Thank you. On the
Councillor
HR item,
Arnold,
yes. Thank
can
you.
we just make a note of that? Is it only one or both?
On all of them, Speaker, thank you.
On both. Okay,
on
thank
both.
you. Councillor Dami?
Speaker, our speakers are included in the speakers list. Check, please.
Oh, thank you. So you have received it by email. Thanks. Councillor Novella?
No, Speaker, our party leader will give you the speaker's name.
That councillor is not here, Councillor MMC. From the EFF, that councillor is not in the chambers. Yeah.
Our Speaker.
Councillor Novella will speak.
Our party leader is here. He's gonna tell you who's speaking.
Oh,
We are saying that Speaker not there. Your updated list is not updated.
Councillor Rasirute?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Speaker. We've got... Are you listening to me, Speaker?
Continue, Councillor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, both items will be done by Councillor Mpahlela. Thank you very much.
Councillor Mpahlela, okay. Thank you. Just mark it. Is there any other speakers?
Yes, Speaker.
Can I see the hand? Oh, okay. Councilor Sitole.
Item 68 and 69.
Who's going to speak on them?
It's me.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Can
you.
Take your seat, thanks.
Speaker ngicela amanzi.
Thank you, councillors. Just to read out the items again. Item 68.
Right. The item we're on is item 68, which is commencement of the recruitment and selection process for the position of Chief Operating Officer.
Starting with Councillor Arnolds. Are you speaking on both or just one? 68? Only 68. Thank you.
68 now, and then 69 when it's tabled. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to speak on the commencement of the recruitment and selection process for the position of Chief Operations Officer, and I'm doing that on behalf of the African Independent Congress, but also mandated by the AHC, PAC, Al-Jamaa, APC, and yeah. So I'm speaking on behalf of all of us. Speaker, as much as we appreciate the report and as much as it says to us that we are going to commence on the process, but we all know that it takes time in Hollywood and Bollywood, and we would like this to be sped up. It should be done ASAP. And on the recommendations that is recommended, that council approves the interview panel that will consist of the chairperson, city manager, member of the mayoral committee, the MMC of group corporate and shared services, 2 councillors as designated by the executive mayor, and an external expert as designated by the city manager. Our plea as the minority opposition parties would be that the executive mayor look into it, that one of these councillors that she will designate comes from the opposition, whether it is the opposition as in ANC or EFF or in the smaller minority opposition parties. And that would make us all feel comfortable that the process will be legitimate. I thank you.
Councillor Mpatlele.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes. As the economic freedom fighters, we are the only ones who've been advocating for land and jobs manje, land and jobs now. So we are the one who advocate for land, for jobs. And then this is an opportunity for the city to hire somebody permanently as our COO. So in the recommendation, we are recommended to the recommendation to approve. So what we're asking you, Speaker, is 2 different questions. Number one question is, as the EFF recommendation number 4, the external expert as designated by the city manager, you know how much money we spend as a city outsourcing people to come and advise us. There's a lot of money that we are spending there. So we're saying this thing should be looked at for future reference, that we can't always be, somebody just come here for 2 hours, demand 180,000 for 2 hours just to advise because it's an expert of some sort. We can't be having that. And then the next recommendation number 3, 2 councillors as designated by the executive mayor. We were in our own caucus and said, what kind of legislation is this? Because we haven't found it. So if it's legislated that the mayor got the powers to appoint 2 councillors to be on the panel, we want to see that legislation, please, so that next time we don't argue about it, that no, we know that no, that definitely there's something like that. And then, as the previous speaker has spoken, that no, to just be fair, you must not choose all the 2 councillors from Democratic Alliance and not collusion but partners. So Democratic Alliance and partners. Yeah. So you must choose everywhere else because the mayor, the MMC of GCSS is already an ANC a DA member. Thank you.
Councillor van der Schuyf.
Thank you, Speaker. Executive Mayor Mpopolazzi, Chief Whip, MMCs, the Chair of Committees, fellow councillors and officials present, warm greetings to you all. Since the current Chief Operating Officer's employment contract will come to an end on the 31st of July 2022, it is of the utmost importance that the recruitment and selection process to fill the vacant position commence timelessly, thus ensuring and securing a smooth transition. This vacancy must be published in at least 1 national newspaper as prescribed by Section 11 of the Local Government Regulations on Appointment and Conditions of Employment of Senior Managers of 17 January 2014. It further prescribes the content of the said advertisement and also makes provision for the use of a recruitment agency to identify appropriate candidates. Section 12(1) further allows for the appointment of a selection panel to make recommendations with regards to the appointment of senior managers. It is suggested that the selection panel for the appointment of the new COO consists of the following: the chairperson being the city manager, the MMC for GCSS, 2 additional councillors as designated by our executive mayor, and lastly, an external expert as designated by the city manager. Once the recruitment and selection process has been finalized, a report detailing the final recommendation for the appointment of the COO will then be tabled at council for consideration and approval. We as Action SA welcome the commencement of the recruitment and selection process for the position of COO in the City of Johannesburg, in line with the city's talent acquisition policy, the Local Government Municipal Systems Act 32 of 2000, as well as the applicable sections as mentioned earlier, as per the regulations on the appointment and conditions of employment of senior managers as gazetted on 17 January 2014. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor van der Schuyf. Councillor Nguse.
Let me just observe the protocol, Speaker, so that I don't waste time. Speaker, as the African National Congress, we are not going to prohibit a process that must happen. And we are in agreement that the process must commence. Speaker, given the conduct of our mayor, she lacks ethical leadership. And we are very dubious that the process, we are very dubious
Point
that
of
the
order,
process
Speaker.
will be fair.
Point of order, Speaker.
There's a point of order. Councillor Christians. Councillor Nguse, please take your seat.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the gentleman, the councillor speaking there is making an accusation against the mayor. He didn't say she's acting like, he said the mayor is. Can he withdraw that or bring the proof? Thank you.
The proof he act like he work in ESCOM. That's a
Councillor
proof.
Nguse. Councillor Nguse.
Speaker, your protection is very important. We read newspapers, and in Amabungane,
Councillor Nguse.
there was an admission.
Speaker,
Councillor
point of
Nguse.
order.
There was an admission of
Point
the
of order.
mayor.
Councillor
Point of order, Speaker.
Nguse. Councillor Nguse, can I take you on that? No, it can't be that he brings newspaper reports here. You cannot quote newspaper reports, please. Please stick to what is on the issue on discussion here, please. Thank you. You have to withdraw that part.
Withdraw, please.
Madam Mayor,
But protect, Speaker, protect the person that is in the podium, please.
Speaker, may I please request that Councillor Nguse be referred to the Ethics Committee so this matter can be dealt with there. Thank you.
Sizoya sonke kodwa laphaya. Let me continue then, Speaker. We are certain that we'll have a dubious character. But ours, it is about a process that will be fair, transparent, inclusive, and a fair labor practice. We don't want any DA Cape
Councillor
Town
Nguse,
deployment.
there's another point of order. Will you take your seat? Councillor Esijon Joka.
Yeah, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, please, if I can just reiterate, there's been precedent set in this House that we don't use newspaper articles to make allegations in this House. May I request that Councillor Nguse withdraw unconditionally until he brings proof. And I also want to address the abuse, the verbal abuse that women are receiving in this House. Women are receiving verbal abuse. I've been called ginger and I kept quiet. Councillor Knott has been abused by her surname by other councillors and we kept quiet. This is how physical abuse and gender-based violence continues. This is how.
Councillor.
He must withdraw unconditionally.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nguse, please withdraw the part of the newspaper. Thank you.
I'm withdrawing the parts of newspaper. So, Speaker, as I continue that it is about, we don't need any DA Cape Town deployment here. The coffee sessions that are happening, we want to warn those who have executive powers
Councillor
to
Nguse,
distance
There
themselves.
is a point of order. Will you take your seat?
Mr. Speaker,
MMC Ashley Sauce the first.
Councilor Nguse cannot withdraw the newspaper, but he maintains what he quoted from the newspaper. He must withdraw what he said about the mayor.
Puppet, look at this puppet.
Councillor Nguse.
Yeah. The partial listening is very problematic. I indicated that I withdraw the newspaper part. So I do not know what is then anticipated. From a person at that executive level, we must listen attentively. As I continue, Speaker, that it is about, we do not want any DA deployee in the city of Johannesburg.
Councillor
We are talking
Nguse.
to the qualifications, experience in
Councillor
local
Nguse.
government.
There is a point of order. Councillor Christians.
How many orders? That order is out of order, Speaker. That order is out of order.
Speaker, also recognize your left because there's been a hand up here for more than 15 minutes. Please.
I didn't give you a platform to speak, Councillor. I have called Councillor Christians. Councillor Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, it seems like it's getting late and we are now deteriorating. We were very well disciplined.
On which rule? Because you ask us on which rule. What rule is he standing?
Councillor Christians.
On which rule?
Your point of order.
Speaker, I rise in terms of Rule 72, 1, which is process. Speaker, it's clear that the deterioration is exactly what I'm talking about. We are not taking this serious, and that is why points of orders are now being raised. It's because we were all well disciplined the entire day. But it's clear that once the sun sets, other things are also setting as well. So please, Speaker, I'm urging you, let us all follow
Is
the
that a
same
point
rules.
of order? Because
If
it
I'm
dismisses
expected-
it dismisses
if
us
I'm
very
expected-
sharply.
Speaker, if I'm expected to follow the same processes and rules as this House, everybody needs to do the same. Thank you.
Councillor Nguse, please continue.
Hey, this continuous
say nothing.
interruption is very problematic.
3 minutes saying nothing.
Councillor Nguse, please continue.
Qualifications, experience in local government, knowledge of the work, MFMA, and all other applicable legislations, we are advocating for that. We are also proposing, Speaker, that this person must be at least part of a professional body, the bodies that are regulating all these professionals, including the mayor. I'm sure as a medical doctor, she belongs somewhere. There must be a transparent process in recruiting, interviewing, and scoring of the COO position. Speaker, ours, it is also the consideration of employment equity. All processes must be above the board, from shortlisting, interviewing, background check, vetting, and selection. We will be extra careful as we commence with this process. I thank you, Speaker.
Councillors. MMC not.
Speaker,
Councillor.
Can you please ask councillors not to scream "shut up" at other councillors? We are not children.
I was going to address that, Councillor Knott. I was about to address that, Councillor
Now
Knott.
shut up.
Councillor Knott, will you take your seat? Councillors, please. This is really not acceptable. This is not acceptable. And obviously, I cannot identify the person that has shouted, "Shout out." I've heard it twice, and I really urge that we respect one another. Let's respect one another. Councillors, I'm not going to allow any further hands. I'm going to ask Councillor Knott to speak to this item. Councillor Knott, please continue.
Thank you, Speaker. I note the points from the AIC. I think in terms of the query from the EFF, the guidelines for the appointments of senior managers, as published by Kochte, are where you will find the requirements in terms of the panel, which has a composition of 3 to 5 people. The first 3 people are defined in the Act itself, which has to be the city manager as the chairperson, the MMC for group corporate and shared services, and an external expert. You are allowed up to 5 members, and as such, that is the panel that we have depicted in the report.
MMC, there's a point of order. Councillor Mhlongo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I rise on rule number 10, Speaker, of the standing rules and orders of council. I will read it together with sub-rule 1 and 2 together, Speaker. Let me just read it to you, Speaker, so that we know what I'm rising on. It says, sub-rule 1, at the meeting of the council after an election.
Councillor Mhlongo,
Yes, yes, Speaker.
you are referring to the oath.
Speaker, let me just read the rule first.
No.
Then you'll tell me.
No, please
You'll
take
be
your
the judge.
seat,
Let me
Councillor.
just read the rules,
No,
Speaker.
Councillor Mhlongo.
Speaker, let me write.
No, Councillor
I've
Mhlongo.
raised
Will
on
you
the
please
rules,
take your
Speaker.
seat?
I've raised on the rules, Speaker.
No, please take your seat.
I've
Thank you.
raised on the rules, Speaker.
No.
Speaker,
Please sit.
please don't surprise me. Don't suppress me, Speaker. I've raised, Speaker, on a rule, Speaker, of the standing rules and orders of this council, Speaker. I'm not rising on my own, Speaker. This is the rule. Let me just read it for the benefit of all councillors that are in the House. Please.
It's on the confirmation of oath.
Speaker, let me just read it. Then you'll make a ruling after I've just read it. Speaker, you know, Speaker, let me just, before I go to that rule, Speaker. A wise man once said, Speaker, in politics, Speaker, the first casualty is the truth. Can you please rise above that statement by that person, Speaker, and tell us the truth, Speaker? Let me just go back to the rule, Speaker. The rule says, Speaker, at the first meeting of the council after an election, after the notice convening the council has been read, and before councillors may begin to perform their functions, they must swear or affirm faithfulness and obedience to the council before a judicial officer. Sub-rule 2, councillors or councillors who fill a vacancy in the council between elections must, before a judicial officer or the speaker, take an oath or affirm their faithfulness to the republic and obedience to the constitution prior to performing their functions in council. The councillor that spoke before me, Speaker, you say councillor not. I've got the documents here, Speaker, official documents from IEC for all councillors that are represented in the council of the city of Joburg. I don't have councillor not. Can you please tell us? Can you please take us into confidence?
Councillor Knott, let me just respond to Councillor Mhlongo. Councillor Mhlongo, you are bringing up an unrelated matter here. An unrelated matter. And therefore, I'm ruling you completely out of order. Councillor Knott, will you continue, please? Thank you.
Speaker, I would like this personal attack referred to the Ethics Committee, please.
I will do. Thank you. Please continue, Councillor Knott.
Thank you. I'm starting to wonder if certain parties and councillors in this House actually take the administration and service delivery in the city seriously, because we are dealing with something exceptionally important, and you are making jokes, you are
MMC not.
personally attacking councillors.
MMC not, there's a point of order from Councillor Novella.
On Rule 72, Speaker, a point of order on the MMC because it's a misleading council. On the guidelines that are issued by SALGA on the panel or the selection panel, the constituting of the selection panel. The guidelines do not say the executive mayor must appoint councillors who must form part of the panel, but it says a councillor who must be designated by council. So council must make that designation, who is that councillor or those councillors who must represent us in that selection panel. So we need to correct that. That's why the EFF's position is that the councillors must be chosen in this council, by this council, so that they form part of that. We can read it if we have to, that selection process or selection panel must consist of 3 to 5 members, one the executive
Novella.
mayor or a delegate. I need to finish, Speaker.
You've
When
raised the
Christian speaks
question.
here, you don't interrupt. Don't interrupt us like that. Because when Christian speaks here and raises points, you don't interrupt him and he says nothing. Now we're giving you, we're raising on a point of order which is there on the rules, and we're reading out what we're correcting because the MMC is misleading council. And then you want to interrupt us.
Continue,
Allow us to
Councillor.
complete because it's here. The guidelines are here. We want to read them out so that the council do not get misled. And then we want to interrupt us.
Continue, Councillor Novella.
The guideline says a councillor must be designated by council, not by the executive mayor. So that recommendation on that report is incorrect and must be amended by this council. And it must say exactly what their guideline says, as per the SALGA guidelines. And this council must then choose a councillor or councillors who must then represent it in that selection panel. Thank you.
MMC not.
Thanks, Speaker. If I can clarify, this is the Government Gazette number 37245. We are not referring to SALGA rules. And it clearly states, the selection panel for the appointment of a manager directly accountable to a municipal manager must consist of at least 3 and not more than 5 members, constituted as follows. The municipal manager, who will be the chairperson, a member of the mayoral committee or councillor who is the portfolio head of the relevant portfolio. In our case, it would be group corporate and shared services. At least one other person who is not a councillor or a staff member of the municipality and has expertise or experience in the area of the advertised post. So I think in the case of the SALGA regulation, we are reading from some other panel, but it is not related to a Section 56 manager. That is... Thank you. I think I've answered that query, and if there's any further queries on it, that they should take it up with COCTA, because that is the regulation, Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think, no, Councillor Novella, you addressed me.
But Speaker,
you
on a point
addressed
of
me.
person,
Yes,
there's
you
rules
addressed me
there.
at some point, and I want to address the issue that you addressed me on.
I'm raising on
So
a
can
basis
you
of
give me,
personal explanation.
No, Councillor. You addressed me on a specific issue. And I wanted to respond to you, but you screamed over my head. You were screaming over my head. Now I'm responding to you on the issue that you've raised. Councillor, you cannot compare the SALGA regulations or whatever it is, or from a SALGA document, instead of looking at the Structures Act and the rules that really guides us as councillors. And come and read that out and tell us that we should be following your recommendation and SALGA's recommendations. Please, there is regulations that are made up from the Structures Act. Let's follow that instead of trying to force upon us issues that have been discussed at the Salga level. Thanks. Please do.
Speaker, the question was raised. The MMC said from Salga guidelines, and we had to read out to her. The Salga guideline speaks only on the appointment of the city manager. So let's also go back, Speaker, and tell you that the whole thing, even the one that she read, does not align to the recommendation on the report about the 2 councillors which must be appointed by the executive mayor. It's not there on the own guidelines of COGTA, not even on the Structures Act. It's not there. That's what we are saying, that is misleading, Council.
Thank you.
So we are saying the recommendation that says 2 councillors must be appointed by the executive mayor must be amended, because it's not adhering to either the guidelines from COGTA or to the Section 56 Act there.
Thank you, Councillor. Will you take your seat then? MMC not.
Thanks, Speaker. I'll try this again. The COGTA regulations, which are done by national governments, and nothing except the Constitution can supersede that legislation, maintains that there must be 3 particular positions that are designated as I've read out, but your panel can consist of 5 members. The other 2 are at the discretion of the executive and then this council. The recommendations are in the report, and that is what we would like council to approve. So understand that the 3 positions, the city manager, the councillor that is in charge of the portfolio, and the external expert, are what COGTA regulations permit. The other 2 are at discretion. I'm not going to debate national legislation, as this is not the place for it. This is specifically what we are requesting for in the report, and I think this matter needs to be approved, and as such, that's what we request. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, MMC not. If there is, and all councillors knows the rules, or all caucuses. If you've got a different recommendation, we've seen the recommendations, please forward it to us so that we are able to vote on it. Instead of debating something that we know we've got rules.
Speaker.
Thank you. That's the way forward. Please forward your recommendations
Speaker, there is hands.
and the ones on the table that you've got right in front of you.
Way forward, Speaker. Way forward.
Councillor Christians first and then Councillor Mphahlele.
It's unfair, there's a hand this side.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm rising in terms of Rule 72(1), which is a process issue. And those who laugh are ignorant, that's why they continue to do that. Speaker, the process of any debate is that there is a time allocated for amendments to resolutions. If that was not given to you in writing, they cannot do it now, because then you will be in breach of our process. That's the first thing. The second thing is, MMC not was the last speaker. She has closed the debate. We cannot reopen that debate by asking for amendments now. The resolution is very clear. There's 3 that are regulatory, and there's 1 that is a council resolution that has been added. Whether people want to agree to it or not, it's now the time to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. And Councillor Christians was correct that this debate has been closed.
No.
Councillor
No,
Mphahlele.
Scar Thomas, Speaker.
Councillor Mphahlele,
We're giving you the way forward.
I've called you to speak.
We're providing the way forward for
I
you,
called you
Speaker,
to speak.
and for the
Thank
House.
you, Councillor.
Yes, all right. Now, number 1, Councillor Umdil. I was noted. I was noted. So the second one is this, that we are going to give a way forward, is that we are actually, if we can see clearly, that we are agreeing as EFF. But then the only thing is recommendation 2.3. recommended 2 councillors as designated by the executive mayor. That is the only one that we are disputing. So we are saying we are not in a rush, we are here. You can go and fix that 2 councillors as designated by the executive mayor. And instead of writing that, you said 2 councillors designated by council. Then we will agree with this. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. You know the rules.
Don't be delinquent, Speaker.
If you want to make a change in the rules, I mean in the recommendations, there is a process to it. Councillor Sitole, I've closed the debate. No, I've closed it, thank you. No, Councillor Sitole, I'm not
We're
going to
asking for a
allow it.
caucus break, Speaker.
Thank you.
We're asking for a caucus break.
We are now going to vote, Councillor.
We're asking for a caucus break.
And it's for the first time.
We're asking for a caucus break. We don't usually ask for caucus breaks. We're asking for a caucus break.
10 minutes, Councillor.
No. How many minutes? You want 30 minutes, Speaker. 30 minutes, caucus break.
10 minutes.
And we want some water.
At 1:45, we're starting sharp.
Rizobuya. Rizobuya. Rizobuya.